Hello, this is Wyland with the FPV podcast, where we talk about the FPV community and everything we do with our radio-controlled machines. Before we get into the show, I just want to very quickly touch upon our Patreon giveaway. This is a monthly giveaway that we're going to be doing for our Patreon supporters. So we're going to be giving away a lot of great products. So if you're interested in supporting the podcast and being entered into the giveaway, please go over to fpvpodcast.com. That's fpvpodcast.com. Thank you so much for supporting the FPV podcast. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's FPV podcast. This week, we have one of the fastest people that I've ever seen here in the Midwest that came to race with us. And we're really going to have a fun time talking because he's one of the guys who's really going to be pushing that new multi-GP rule, and there's going to be plenty to talk about there. But before we get into all of that cool stuff, Elvin, what do you got for me this week?
Hey, yeah, I just want to say, how many miles FPV and you got last week? I got 190 miles, accumulated miles of flying time. That's over an hour and a half of flying, guys. Over an hour and a half.
Now, if you could just drive that long, you'd be great. No, I'm kidding. That's a lot of miles, though. That's a good record.
It's not my personal, but it's not my personal best for time flying, but it is a good one. I got a lot of miles on my mini track last week, and I'm really happy about it. Performance is where it's supposed to be. My Dragon Link is working perfectly. I can almost completely feel secure with flying out at 4 miles now. So all the way around me too, not in one direction. Omni. I've done 2 miles out completely around me in a circle. So that's killer mileage right there, boy.
Pretty
anyway,
cool, man.
I'm glad Alex is here. What's up, Alex?
Not much, fellas. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing well, Alex. So, what's going on with you? Give us a little bit of your background.
Oh, I started out from the complete RC career, started out probably 6 years ago. I got into RC airplanes with my dad, and that was really my first RC passion that I got into. I was big into the first-person shooter, video games, and all that, but I never really found the love for a hobby until I got into the RC aircraft side of it. I got into that with my dad at 15 years old. There's not really a lot of stuff that you want to do with your dad. There's just not much stuff that you just don't have much in common, Right. That's one thing that really brought us together through that. So, years of that, and then making my way up to the ranks of, the higher end aircraft freestyle pilots and competing in competitions with pilots all over the different nations. It's all that. And then that journey really got me into FPV. So,
and you have a couple titles, right? Don't you have a couple of first place competition runs?
No, I don't.
I thought you.
I was never that good.
Not that good.
No.
But you were good. I've seen you fly, and you do have some skills on airplane size.
Yeah, I think in my prime, there was the biggest competition I went to it was 21 pilots from 6 different countries, and I placed 11th overall at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You was at some big competition.
Yeah, that was my prime. Yeah. All that, it was fun flying airplanes, but it was on the other side of it, it was kind of a hassle. Like we're flying 120-inch wingspan, 120cc twin cylinder planes. We have to haul them in a covered trailer, right. Spend an hour and a half to drive to the field.
Right.
Where, my dad, he likes more the technical side of it. He likes the software and firmware and the computer side. So I got into quads pretty early on, probably 2.5, 3 years before I really got into it. So he was doing all that, and I was never into it. I was one of those guys where it was like, drones are ruining the hobby. Everybody needs to fly airplane. And then once I started trying it and I realized, dude, I can step out on my front porch and fly all I want. As long as it's not raining and I have 5 minutes, I can fly 2 packs in 5 minutes. You could never do that with an airplane.
Right.
That was really the start of it. And just having the freedom of flight. You know, airplane is a lot of back and forth. With FPV, you really get to feel that freedom of flight, and that was one of the things that took my interest. Freestyled for a long time, you know, just did my own thing, posted a couple of videos, and then probably close to a year ago, we tried one, well, big emphasis on tried. Me and Heads Up FPV, actually, we're good friends in real life. So I went over to his house, and he had like a soccer goal that the net was ripped out. So we were trying to make a track, you know, we tried racing, and it was a huge fail. But as soon as we tried it, we knew like, this is something we want to start doing. And from that point on, like, airplanes were kind of like the sideshow for me. It was all about quads from there on. Got into it, and man, it's just never stopped. Never stopped.
Man, it's certain people that once they get into that competition mode, it just draws them in, and then all of a sudden that's all they can think about, and that's their passion in life. And you know what? You're lucky because you definitely have a great person to actually compete with and day in and day out to really get better with, because you two, I mean, a lot of people knows your names, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people know both of you guys' names. I mean, it's funny that you brought it up, but I mean, it's like, when you talk to, like, I message with Mr. Turner, you know, a lot, and we chat back and forth from time to time, and I'm sure he does that with a lot of guys, but he's talking about you, like Alex is coming over, they're gonna go and do some practicing and stuff like that, and you know, him and Alex are good friends, and that's great because obviously you guys both have that initial father and background to give you guys the opportunities to do these things, you know, because a lot of kids don't have the opportunities you guys have, but the fact that you guys
exactly
do, and that you actually utilizing it too, because like my son could give me, you know, about RC anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, hey, Dad, is my batteries charged for my truck? And I go, yeah, but your batteries is charged for your quad and your airplane and your helicopter. And he goes, yeah, but I don't want to play with those, you know. You know, and that's it. And he's not interested in FPV either. So like we've tried to do the camera thing on everything, and he just likes bashing the truck, and he beats the crap out of it. And but you know, the fact that you guys are utilizing it and capitalizing on it is a great thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I definitely, you know, with me and him pushing each other back and forth, you know, it's every time he posts a video, I try to go faster, and every time I post a video, he tries to go faster. Like without me and him having that little back and forth friendly competition, I honestly don't. I know I wouldn't be where I am now, but I mean, that's really probably the biggest driving factor in our progression.
Nice.
Definitely. It's always about the level of competition you're around, and it always helps to have somebody that's that fast around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that kid's crazy fast.
Now, having said that, you just came up to one of our local indoor races, and that's where I got a chance to meet you personally. I'm sure we've been to plenty of events together. I guess we just never actually got a chance to talk. But
right.
Great to talk to you. And what I also love is that your dad is probably the most supportive dad that I've seen for FPV. Yeah. He's out there supporting you. He's there flying. It's like, wow, That's pretty awesome. That's a good tandem. So tell us a little bit about your dad. I mean, he looks like he's also just as much into FPV as you are.
Dude, yeah. I mean, obviously my competitive drive definitely came from my prior genes in my family. So, you know, he loves it just as much as I do. Actually, Evan's dad, Kevin Turner, when me and Evan race together is when we get to see the best racing between my dad and Evan's dad.
Yeah, there we go.
It's not crazy fast speed, but they're 2 feet away from each other for 5 laps in a row. It's the most intense racing we get to see.
Oh man, that's
especially
good.
him having my back in these races is, you know, not just financial support and help getting me to all of these races and stuff, but the emotional support. You know, I'll have a bad run or whatever, and he's just like, shake it off. You know, we're here to have fun, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's what
awesome.
I like. That's what I like.
Yeah, your dad's great. We're glad to have seen you up here because you guys had to drive pretty far. It was like what, 3 hours, 4 hours for you
Four
guys?
hours.
4 hours. So like, hey, appreciate that. Always love seeing people from the community come up and racing with us, and we had a lot of fun out there.
Oh yeah, we appreciate y'all putting on such a good event. After I went to that first race, I'm like, man, every race they put on, I'm gonna do my best to make it to it. It's awesome.
Nice.
Well, we appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get to like your hat right over here. Obviously, you're a part of one of the biggest, most well-known team in drone racing right now. So tell us how you got onto the team.
So, of course, through my freestyle days where I was just flying in my front yard and stuff, we were always big fans of Pyro Drone. We had such great customer service from them, and they shipped so fast. It was all positive stuff that we got from Pyro Drone, and we've also had bad experiences from other companies at the same time. Given that, we always trusted PyroFlip for years before I was even thought about being on the team. Before I even started racing, we were always flying the Hyperlight frames and their motors and stuff. So that's one thing is like I supported Pyro Drone before any of this team thing came around. Like that was one of my goals when I started out. Like if I want to be on any team, it's Pyro Drone. Surge seemed like the coolest guy ever. And I finally got to meet Surge and Andy and all the Pyro Drone team at my first big race, which was Nationals this year. We had a blast there. We really bonded with each other to start with because, Surge and his son do it just like me and my dad do it. So Surge kind of got, he gets my dad when my dad gets nervous when I'm going up to fly. Like Surge understands that. So they kind of kicked it off there. And, I was hanging out with Andy and I ended up doing well at Nationals. And then some time went by. He sent me a couple frames to try and I ended up loving them. And, a couple words back and forth and here we are. Yeah. I'm on the greatest FPV family that I could ever ask for.
Dude, that's pretty cool right there. And definitely because Surge definitely well known. And everybody knows he has a great reputation for getting out, quality products, fast shipping, all of that stuff, which in the FPV world, that's actually really hard to do because, there's so many people that have terrible shipping or they actually come from China and then it'll show up 6 weeks later and you're like, oh yeah, I ordered this. Yeah, I remember that.
You get your tracking and 3 weeks later, it still doesn't even say anything.
Exactly. Right. Definitely pretty cool. Now, you said that you guys met at Nationals, so obviously you got qualified to go to Nationals. Tell us a little bit about your Nationals run and also, what you learned from there.
Yeah. Nationals was really my first high-profile race. We went through the regional series, and that was huge for me. Then regional finals was like the race of my life, which, it went okay. I didn't do great, but I didn't do bad. I ended up making it to Nationals, into the Series 60. When I got there, it was all these big name guys that I see on the internet are there. I'm like way out of my element. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to even fly the track. And then we got out there and man, we started rolling, and out of the Series 60, I qualified second overall. And then going into the Fast 56, I qualified sixth overall for the final 32 race. So we ended up, that's when I realized okay, all of this work that I've been putting into it is paying off now. So that was kind of like my breakthrough at high profile races. After that, I realized all these guys are just coming to hang out and have fun just like I am.
Yeah,
definitely. But it's still competition because those guys, they take it seriously. Trust me. Yeah. They're eyeing their competition and they're really gunning for that win because hey, we're all competitive at the end of the day.
Yeah. If nobody's going there thinking they're going to lose, Definitely. Everybody wants to win.
Definitely. Right. Now, when you were up there, obviously you saw all the big high profile guys. Is there anybody up to that point you were looking up to?
Oh, dude. Ever since I started watching racing videos, of course, Sean Taylor, the GOAT of FPV racing. I loved watching his videos. They're just always on the edge and so fast and just ruthless flying. That's what I want to fly like. Unfortunately I didn't get to meet him at Nationals, but there's a lot of guys. McFly, I got to meet him there. McKenna McClure, super cool guy. EM Drones, all those guys, Jet, Nerd, Jaws, super cool guys. C-Train, all the Pyro Flip crew. It's like it's all those people you see on the internet that's like kicking ass everywhere they go, and then you finally get to meet them. It was awesome.
Definitely pretty cool. So obviously coming out of nationals, what were your thought processes? Like, I got to buckle down and do better in 2018? Or were you like, I think it's time to take a breather and reassess what I need to do to get better?
I ended up 11th overall at nationals. So I knew it was at like a breaking point where I could either put 200% more into it than I was prior to putting into it to get better, or I could just sit here and do the same thing and be complacent with where I was, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not happy with 11th. I don't want to be 11th. I always want to be better. But that was really my deciding factor was nationals.
Okay, now I'm going to sound old, okay? Because obviously there's not too many youngsters that actually would think about that and say, you know what, it's a tipping point and I want to get better. So it's really great for you, to hear somebody like that from somebody so young. So, like, is there anything specific that you're doing to really, up your training regiment?
Man, I started out practicing consistency. In practice, I should never crash. That's what I thought. I should never crash if I'm flying around trees or there isn't any gates up. And I was, constantly on that, practicing 80% of what I thought I could do, just thinking that that's what I needed to do at a race. Where when I got to the race and, I'm in a heat with Envy Astro, Mad Air, and McGap and all these high names where I need every single bit of speed I have. I felt like I was flying out of my comfort zone practicing at 80%. So after that, I really started practicing 20% harder than I thought I could go. Like if it took breaking arms or, a couple motors here and there get dented, like I was okay with that. I was going to do everything I could to progress from that point. And that's what I've started doing now is just, I call it no mechanical sympathy. When you fly, you can't worry about hurting batteries. You can't worry about bending props. It's just all out, man. So when I get to a race and I need that 110%, it doesn't feel like I'm flying on my max capacity.
Definitely.
That's the way I'm trying to think about it.
No, I like that. Elvin, what do you think about
We'll
that?
see if that actually works or not.
It's a good theory.
It's a good theory. That sounds like you don't agree with that theory, Elvin. What's going on there?
Oh, no. If you're not comfortable at flying at your best, at your highest speeds you're capable of, how do you're waiting to make a mistake. You're going to make one. The faster it's a proven fact that the faster you go, the smaller mistakes add up, right? So
definitely
that's what I can say about that. So if you fly at half your speed, you're not going to be able to perform at full speed, in the race. It's just theoretically your mind is not going to be able to adjust over that short period of time.
Yeah, this actually kind of reminds me of a story that Jet told us the last time he was on the podcast, which was like the first couple of races at DRL in 2017. He wasn't comfortable with the speeds that he was going at. So, like, I think by the time he finished his second big race with DRL, going into his third big race, and at the time, if you watch that, he wasn't doing well at all. He wasn't even finishing in the top, 4 or 6. He said he went out there and he practiced at full speed, and he just basically burned up like 100 packs of just batteries going full speed to get comfortable with going at that speed. And then afterwards, I mean, he turned it around like in 2017 DRL. So, like, it proves that, yeah, you're going to have to puff a few packs and break a few things in order to, to accustom yourself to going at those speeds and being able to react at that speeds. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. So how much stuff?
I totally agree.
How much stuff have you broken so far?
You don't even want to know. Honestly, to be honest with you, not too much, especially at the speeds that I'm wrecking. The Floss 2 really does a good job at protecting all my equipment.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, you know what? FPV equipment actually has really been durable. Like if you buy the right stuff, lately, you're right. If you buy the right stuff and you lay it out correctly, it does last a long time. Unless hit something directly, it's probably gonna break if you do that. There's nothing about
you get
Agreed.
tank.
Yeah, that's how I classify it. Like there's two types of scenarios when stuff breaks. It's
Right.
A justifiable situation where, like at Sebring, where I hit an excavator at 75 miles an hour. That's justifiable for a motor to seize up.
Right.
In my mind.
Yeah.
But if I like land and walk over there and my quad's on fire, I don't really see that as justifiable.
Quads on fire. It happens sometimes. You puff a battery.
I
it don't with race flight.
Oh,
that's cool. Anyway, but I just had that happen to me not too long ago, where I crashed and I had a little 2.5er catch on fire, and total loss of flight controller, everything. But hey, man, it was fun until.
Yep, it was fun until it wasn't.
It was fun until I saw the smoke coming off. Where's this? Oh, there's flames.
It does happen in this hobby, but you know what? Yeah. You get a lot of entertainment out of it, so you got to take the good with the bad. So let's go ahead.
Sometimes, right? That's true. Some of this stuff, man, you can get stressed. If you try to base your only enjoyment of the day on quadcopters and racing and all of that right off the bat, man, you're probably not going to have a great night. Try to relax, get your mind off of. Sometimes you got to walk away from this stuff and take a break. And also find somebody to talk to. It's great to bounce ideas off of each other, right?
Definitely. So, obviously you're on Team Pyro Drone. Is there, team activities you guys do together outside of, these big racing events?
Of course we all try to go to as many races as we can, especially with each other. We're not only teammates, we're great friends in real life. We, especially Surge, it's not really a team. We're all a family. I would go hang out with those guys aside from FPV. That's how it is. We try to go to as many races as we can, but as far as this time, this place, not really.
Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and talk about MDX, one of the big regional races that we have here. Tell me what your experience was like at MDX, because I'm pretty sure you didn't go to the 2016 one, so this was your first time down at the Mega Caverns, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I didn't make the 2016 one. I actually wasn't flying quads at that point, but the 2017 one was a blast, man. We showed up and we had no idea. They said it was going to be in a cave, and there was 3 rock columns. Well, we had no idea on the size of this place. Me and my dad walked down there. We're like, "There's no way we're going to fly quads behind 3 50-foot rock columns. There's just no way they're going to do it." But after all that, MDX was a great time. It was hard on quads, but who cares about quads at a high-profile race? As long as you got enough to last, that's kind of my time where I don't mind to break them.
How many quads did you come to the race with?
Well, here was where I messed up at MDX. I had 2 super light quads and I had 4 heavy quads, where at the time I hated the super light quads. I didn't like them. The heavy quads were my jam. That's all I wanted to fly. I got out on the big track at MDX, and it had the speed, but it was so heavy that it took so much throttle in the corners that it was destroying packs, man. Destroying packs. So I ended up going to the super light quad, and that was 2012-5, 2680 kV. It screamed for what it was. And that actually got the race done, and that was the first time that I realized, okay, weight isn't affecting me speed-wise, it's affecting me efficiency-wise. Mm-hmm. So that was my turning point for light quads. But I ended up making the whole race on those 2 light quads, so I was happy with that.
That's
pretty good, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. Yeah. It's tough down there because, man, I saw some really broken up stuff down there this time around.
I saw some 6mm carbon.
Yeah, broke like it was nothing, dude. Nothing.
6mm carbon frame snap. Arm
It was
gone.
crazy. Now, MDX experience wrapped up was like, Mach 6, because that track was so fast. It was so much fun. A lot of puffed batteries, a lot of overcharging, but a lot of great racing and a lot of great memories were made down there.
Definitely. Now, there were 2 tracks down there. Obviously, the Legacy track is a huge track, right? It's a huge run of track, and it stretches quite a distance. So what do you think of that track? Because obviously, that track didn't change too much from 2016. There were only like 2 or 3 minor adjustments. Do you enjoy tracks like that? Because that is definitely a stretched out, laid out, really haul-ass type of track.
Yeah, the big track really set apart equipment side of it versus pilot skill, because obviously 80% of the pilots could have went out there with their quad and full throttled the entire track. Like it's just all straightaways and U-turns. There, you had the one elevated gate, but besides that, it was all pretty much full throttle. There was a lot of people who showed up with a lot of different setups. Like the people who have 5 quads and all 5 of them were different. And then you have people like, me who show up to a race with 5 quads, but they're all exactly the same. Of course, that's the side that I don't like of it. When it gets to a point where, we're not last in a race, like the regional final series last year. Let's just use this as an example. All the people who were fast enough to get on the 6th lap, I think only Brain Drain had a setup that would do 7 laps, which was like a unicorn setup at that point. Nobody else could even guess that a setup would do 7 laps on a 1300. Like Heads Up FPV, he got onto his 6th lap 3 times at regional finals and fell out of the sky on an HV charged 850. I don't like to see that as much as I want to see like raw speed, like the small track at MDX with, what was it, 4 gates or something? But it was incredible. Everybody was going so fast on that track, and racing was so close that nobody worried about, okay, do I have to pull back?
Think.
Exactly. Do I need to pull back on the last lap to be able to finish the race? There was none of that. It was just full send it, and that's what I loved.
Yeah.
You are a man about speed, that's for sure. Okay, so obviously, great thing to learn is that it was a turning point for you to go on to light quads. Is that when you decided to, retire your heavy quads and start experimenting with light quads and then moving forward, going with light quads?
Yes, that was, I really didn't want to invest in the light quads because my heavy quads were all individual ESCs on the arms, which we all know don't work on skinny arms. Well, it works. It's just not ideal. And they were all full-size cameras, which on all these little tight frames like the Floss and stuff, you really need a micro run cam. Right. So that was probably the biggest thing stopping me, was just the cameras and 4-in-1s. But after I realized what light quads were doing compared to my heavy quads, that's when I was like, okay, I can justify spending the money to go in this direction. A lot of the test and tune happened after that. I couldn't tell you how many different sets of motors came through this house and a couple different frames and ESCs. Like, it was just ridiculous. Testing stuff for probably a good month and a half after that until we really locked down the setup. Oh yeah, that's my favorite part of it. Okay, I have this motor, but what is going to do what? That's my favorite part of it.
That is a lot of testing and tuning to be able to match your racing skills or your pilot, like your style of flying to the type of equipment that you need, because everybody's a little bit different. So like just trying to copy somebody else's quad never really works out, but sometimes it does. Who knows? All right, we'll get into the testing, tuning, and all the quad building stuff right after this. Let's cover Sebring 2018. That was the last big national race. Obviously, a lot of you young guys went down there and really made a show of things. My favorite picture of that event was Nurk coming in at 4th, and his little text was, "Got beat by a bunch of young kids," and I was like, I started laughing. So tell me what it's like, because your level of competition is starting to change. You know, it's all you youngsters. You know, you're kind of forming a pack and really giving the old guys a run for the. By old guys, I mean guys in the 30s, which is kind of ridiculous. So, not really old. Going on to mid-age guys.
Right. You know, it is what it is. The kids are. It's just like video games. You know, when is your hand-eye coordination going to get better as you get older? No. But that doesn't mean that you can't achieve the same thing that the young guns do. Look at Sean Taylor, just got second place at Phoenix Cup. He's what, 34, maybe 36, something like that.
No, yeah,
you're still young to me, Sean. I swear.
He's wearing a Sean Taylor shirt underneath that black one. I guarantee you that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
so
your biggest fan.
There you go.
I'm the biggest fan.
So going into Sebring, obviously all of your friends are heading down there. Team Pyro's heading down there in force. Like, what was your goals, you know, going into 2018, your biggest race, you know, up for 2018?
I definitely felt the most prepared before a race as I've ever have going into Sebring. You know, I put in a lot of practice before that, a lot of test and tune, and I figured out the setup that I felt the most comfortable with, and it really set itself apart from everything else to me. So I was, you know, I changed up my rates a little bit, which probably wasn't the best idea, but it ended up working out in the long run. But as far as confidence, I was probably 90% sure I was in the best place that I've been so far coming into a high-profile event.
Okay, sounds pretty good. So how did the event go for you? Was it going according to plan, or did somebody throw a monkey wrench in there?
Dude, the event was fun. You know, of course, you get to see all your friends and stuff, but the racing started and the track was, you know, I watched the track from Sebring the prior year, and I thought, okay, this is going to be super fast, big gates, like gnarly wrecks. That's what I was ready for. But when we got there, we're like, yeah, this is like a nationals track. I really liked it. And I went out for my first pack, you know, and everybody was having trouble on the dive gate. And I ended up, I guess, finding the better line earlier than most people, I would say, because I never really had a big issue with the dive gate. But practice I couldn't have asked for anything better in practice. I was crashing a little bit, but it was okay because I still could dial it back a little bit and be consistent, get my laps in. But, of course, when you got people like Evan that's throwing smoothness out the window and going straight for TQ, you know, I had to do something about that. Can't let him have an easy ride up there.
Oh, man. Now, talking about Mr. Turner, he had it in the bag. And then, like, what was your perspective on him just running basically into a pole? Was that like just bad luck, the wind, or what happened there? What did you see?
So final race came down to it, and I knew that BMS Thomas is probably, in my opinion, one of the more knowledgeable racers, like where he takes a different approach than us. You know, we're just go fast and don't suck's our motto, where Thomas is the guy that's like, I'm going to go just fast enough to get it done. So, you know, I was nervous for Evan. That's one of my good friends. I wanted him to take the win just as much as he did. And they took off and they were going, and it was like a whole lap where him and Thomas were 5 feet apart from each other. And I had no idea what like, I didn't even want to watch. I was about to puke. And then Evan ended up starting to pull the gap on him and just yard sailed that quad. I don't know if y'all seen the picture of it afterwards, but dude, yeah, that pack was done. Top mount straight into that pole was gnarly.
Right.
But Thomas deserved it too. You know, Thomas is a great pilot. The whole final, all of them deserve to be there. All of them deserve the win, in my opinion. Like, once it comes down to bracket racing and finals, it's anybody's ball game.
Right. And if you're in the top 10, you got a chance.
Exactly.
You know, it's hard. But that's just the play of the numbers, right? Because, you know, Evan had great runs prior to that, and you know he made a mistake, and unfortunate for him, it ended the race for him, the day for him, and
Yeah.
Thomas took the win. But both pilots are great pilots, and both of them understand that could happen to either one of them at any time.
Exactly.
And it could happen to you, Alex. It could happen to me. It could happen to Y. It doesn't, it's about persistence and practice, right? The more times you practice, the less mistakes you're going to make. And unfortunately, when you do, they're going to be really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
at
much.
those speeds, yep. Sorry, you're gonna get a ruined
It's
quad
bad.
at the end.
I know, man. It's bad.
It ain't no turtle mode.
Oh dear.
No.
Yeah. Nope.
That
Sorry.
was taco mode.
All right. We're turning the page. All right, we're done talking about racing. We're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about quad setups and testing and tuning. Elvin's been already on his soapbox about this, so we're gonna let him off the hook, and he's gonna just start ranting and raving. Now maybe I'll just.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'll just kick him off the call.
Look,
Yeah,
Alex,
right.
Well, look, I can say this. Alex is a fast pilot. He likes speed. That's one of the things that there's a couple of them out there actually like speed. They don't. It's not I can go fast. It's I need to go fast, and that's what puts them in the top group of guys when you're racing. It's the fact that he knows that he has to go fast to end up in the top 3 or 4. And he said that earlier. He realized that, and that's a great thing because that's what pushes everybody else. I mean, if you know somebody is like not as fast as you don't go as hard, right?
Exactly.
I mean, but if you think somebody is, holy crap, that guy's just as fast as I am, that means I can't be slacking. You know what I mean? And that's why it comes down to that last race and somebody ends up taco in the frame.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about quad setups. So obviously, for multiGP this year, they had a vote, and they decided to go open on cell packs, which is great.
Cell pack.
Because, there's been a lot of talk, and obviously, like some of the bigger leagues, DRL, DR1, they've already experimented with 5S, DR1 going over to 6S. So there is precedence to definitely head on over to some of the bigger cells. Obviously, there's going to be some issues with that. My friend over here, Alex, he's already gone up to 6S, and he's experimenting, and he's got some ideas. So tell us all about the 6S experience.
Oh, so, the 6S hype started a couple months ago, and yeah, I was at a point where I was doing unsafe things to batteries to be able to finish races, which I'm not going to say what I did because I don't want other people doing it, but at that point is like, we're doing that and we're still falling out of the sky. Like,
right.
What are we going to have to do? We don't want to slow down. Nobody wants to slow. Well, there's a few guys out there who want everybody to slow down, but we don't want to slow down.
Everybody to slow down.
Exactly.
It's not like they said we want it to be this way. They want everybody to slow down, and that's just to keep it competitive, right? I mean,
right.
It's put a power range in and minimize the speed of the ship, and then let everybody work on the skill aspect of competition, which is great, but it takes a little bit of finesse out, I would say.
Right.
Takes the edge off.
Right, and I fully agree with that. Like, spec racing to me would be the most fun I think I've ever had. If it was like DRL, where everybody's flying the exact same thing.
Right.
Like, that to me seems like the most fun and best racing we could ever have. Right. But at the same point, when you're wanting these fast guys that have put in all this effort and finding the setup to go at the speeds we are, when you want to take that away from us, it doesn't seem as fun for us. You know what I'm saying? But which, that's nor here nor there. Everybody has their own opinions about it, but that's just where I stand.
I think it goes to show we definitely need to have, several categories, like an open class, which everybody enjoys. And then, a more supported spec class, because right now spec class there's only been like I think 1 or 2 races of spec. You know, we're gonna need a heck of a lot more of those in order for it to become popular. So, but that aside, what is your setup for 6S right now?
So right now, my 2018 multi-GP season quad right here. It's the Pyro Flip RC Floss 2 with the 5mm arms, which 5mm arms, I've been flying them for probably 2 months now and haven't broke a single one. Like I busted up motors, completely seized motors, and haven't broke a single 5mm arm.
Nice.
From the frame, I am thankfully sponsored Race Flight, so I'm running the Race Flight 4-in-1 bolt with the revolt on top of it, which is taking 6S amazingly. I run 2 25-volt 1000 UF capacitors on my quad and haven't had any issues so far. That's really like the main power plant of the 6S rig. Everything around that, you know, you can use a lot of the same equipment besides that.
Okay.
But running this stack, I ran it on 4S as well. So the only thing I had to get to go to 6S was motors. And going into that, I'm running the Hyperlight 2207 1722 HV edition motors, which have plenty of power, plenty of speed. They're no different than my 4S rigs. Like when I'm flying this, I can't tell any difference power-wise from my 4S rigs, except this one doesn't sag in the later laps. And I get probably a good 20 to 25 seconds longer runtime on this. So that with the HQ 50/50 HQ props, the V1Ss, super durable. They're real meaty blades, so they don't flex in corners. You don't get that real inconsistent jumpiness when you punch the throttle like you would a lighter blade like a 50/40. That with the Immersion Tramp HV VTX with the TBS Triumph antenna, I like running that because that's pretty much the exact FPV system that multi-GP recommends you use. You know, the Tramp or the Unify with the Axie or Triumph. So that's a proven setup, and that's what I want to take to multi-GP races, is what's proven and what works with their system the best. Besides that, micro run cam, Swift 2 2.1 lens with this new sick. It's a camera mount that I actually just got in the mail today. It holds your camera at a fixed 70-degree angle. It can't move left or right, up or down, and it's fully protecting the micro run cam up front. And it also says #send it on it. So, I mean, who doesn't want that?
Elvin, can you imagine when we started this podcast 2 years ago, somebody will come on to the podcast and says, yeah, I'm running a 70-degree tilt. It's perfectly fine. Nothing new.
I think if you go back and you look back in that first year, I said it was coming.
70-degree tilt. Come on, man.
60 degrees. We were talking about 60 at one time. You know,
that was crazy back then,
man. It's nuts. What's next?
Yep.
I mean, come on. I mean, well, I can get 70 degrees tilt right here. You show.
That's all you need. Slam it to 70 and let it eat, dude.
Yeah, let it go. I look. If I could, I'd go 6S on this.
Oh, okay. Let's not go there. Hey, what kind of batteries are you running for 6S? What milliamps and C ratings do you like?
So, 4S, big shout out to AC Batteries. They sponsor me and supply me with packs. Right now, there is no 6S packs in the U.S. from them right now because of Chinese New Year is what slowed those down. So right now I'm running Pulse 6S 1250 milliamp 75C graphenes.
Graphenes,
and they've been spectacular so far. I'm still waiting for my ACs to come in, but
that was just on sale for $13 either.
No.
I wish I had gotten some for $13. Elvin,
the $13 ones were 1,000 milliamps.
Elvin, you failed me. You didn't tell me about that. You failed me. I'm just saying.
Hey, I told them to order them 6S 1,000 milliamps in 2015. They didn't sell none.
Yep.
So that's what happens.
That's what happens.
Oh,
okay.
Another big part of the setup. This right here, Crossfire. That is. Yes, I heard you talking about that long range, Elvin. I'm about it. But
Yeah.
at Sebring in the finals, I was running Spectrum Protocol,
Mhm.
and they moved me to Chair 5, which was behind a tunnel full of spectators,
Mhm.
which was the pits in between me and the other side of the track. So I ended up fail-safing at the airplane in my second my second round of the finals, which put me out. So that was my turning point. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm invested. I went to Crossfire and wish I would have done it from the start. It's incredible.
That was one of the things I took notice of at Megadrone was the fact that the table was covered with radios that had the Crossfire in it. It was like, what the hell? I was like, how many people in here doing long range? That's what I was. But it wasn't that. It was just guys trying to be prepared because the year before in the caverns, we had like Spectrum didn't have one failsafe.
Oh, that's not
It
true.
was
That's not true.
Wait. That's not verified. Damn it.
Guess who's a Spectrum fan, huh? Guess who's the Spectrum fan here?
Hey, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just telling the truth, and that you can count on from me. But FR Sky had 3 quads go around that back
Listen
wall,
to you. Listen,
wide
wow.
open. And you've been to the cave, so when you go around that back wall, you're pointing over at the other 2 sections over.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
What happened?
You might as well put a for sale sign on that quad.
That was so funny. Like you would hear guys wheel, and you hear wheel.
Chipping rocks off the walls and stuff.
Done.
Gone.
Where's your quad? It's somewhere back here.
Yeah.
Is it
I ain't
on?
even going to get it.
Yep. It's part of the wall now.
It's
not it's decoration now for the wall. That is true. Hey, you know what? Crossfire is actually great for racing because a lot of people have reported not only that they're getting more reliability across, obstacles, but when they hit the ground, they still have the ability to actually project into the ground and take off again. Because a lot of times, like a lot of radios, depending on how you hit the ground and where your antenna is, you can't get a signal that actually go launch off the ground again. A lot of people have been reporting good results from that. So, there's reasons to go to Crossfire, but I mean, if you know how to set up a good Spectrum or FR Sky, they're still reliable systems. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, though.
And let me rephrase that. There's nothing bad about that.
Disclaimer.
I flew on Spectrum until like 2 weeks after Sebring and never had a single issue in the cave, nothing. My main focus was and that failsafe was never pinpointed down whether it was something malfunctioning on the quad or if it was where I was setting was wrong. Like, it could have been all these variables, but I can tell you one thing. From my testing and what I've seen, Crossfire is without a doubt a more reliable link, and that's what I want to take. We spend a lot of money to go to these races.
True.
And with a failsafe, it's like, what are you getting out of that? So
exactly.
The more reliable my equipment is when I go to these races, I'm all for it.
Definitely.
Same.
I agree with you because some of these races are getting awfully pricey. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, we're going to move away from that. Elvin,
I bet you there's going to be a $300.
No,
$350
God, I hope not. That is too expensive, man. That is way too expensive.
You see cheap there.
That is way too expensive. Anyways,
it'll be free food.
Free. You are funny. Okay, so 6S setup. Obviously, you've been running it for a while now. What is the major difference? Is it just runtime? Is it just like the ability to actually run longer and have power towards the end? Or are you seeing other benefits right now?
No, 4S was plenty of power. Even guys like Evan, they're not, putting their throttle on a switch and 100% throttle the entire track. Like, we're not going to 6S for more speed. we have all the speed we need plus some right now, but we can't last races with it. So our main goal with 6S is to figure out how to achieve that same speed, but use the power in a different way to manipulate that extra 20 seconds of runtime. That's what we needed. That's why we're not running like, 2100 kV or whatever on 6S, because we just can't last a race like that. So with the 1722s, this is the setup for me. Same speed as my 4S rigs, just last for 20 to 30 more seconds. That's what I wanted out of the 6S experience.
So let me ask you this question. So why not go do more research? I mean, first, I mean, like 6S. See, I truly believe that 6S is where real power is. I mean, it's the acceleration and weight combination. It's always been there for us, and I do a lot of this basing on radio control helicopters and boats, right? Where 4S, like 3S, we're just playing. Like, that's kid toys, right? That's usually how it is for all things. Any 2, 3S, that's kid toys. 4S is when you start to walk into a little bit of power. You're usually able to create a kilowatt, right? And that's that you do that you're doing something. But when you get to 6S, you're capable to create so much more. You're increasing the possibilities to make 2200 kilowatt. I mean, 2200 watts. So, I mean, not 2200 kilowatts, but 2200 watts. And that substantial increase provided against the weight can be the biggest bonus you can get, right? And that's why radio controller helicopters are there. Anyway, that's why they start off at the medium-sized ones, 6S. And the bigger ones go up to 14S, 14 cells. But at that point, you're creating so much more power. But I still think that the efficiency realm hasn't really been met for 4S. Like, there's a part of this equation thing that like you said, Brain Drain was capable of doing 7 laps. 7 laps. And Evan was able to do 6 laps, and he kept falling out of the sky. There's got to be more to what Brain Drain was running and how he was flying it. You see what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. So there is ways to do the exact same thing that we're doing with 6S with 4S. Definitely. Right. But the speeds that you have to fly 4S at to achieve that efficiency, from my testing. Now, I'm not into the run the numbers and theories and stuff, just because I'm not as much into that as I am just picking up a set of what I want to try, going outside and seeing what really happens. That's more of my testing, but I'm just not into that side of it. But without you guys running the numbers and stuff, I wouldn't have any idea where to start. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And like we were talking earlier about 6S, and I said I spit a motor number out without even knowing what you were running. I said 1700 kV, and you're running 1720s. You see, and that's because the numbers are familiar to me, but I just haven't done it in a long time. But but there was a time when we sat down and we decided, we went through a bunch of props, and ran that prop, and then tried to fly the ship according to how the performance of that prop was. And I said, not enough guys are doing that. They buy props, they run them 5 or 6. I don't like the prop. Well, maybe you're not flying the prop properly. You know what I mean? There's still a bunch of efficiency testing that's not being done by enough guys, I think.
Okay. I mean, that's true. Also, besides Pyroflip, there's not too many manufacturers like running a big variant on the 1700 KVs because they haven't been popular before, right? So what I'm kind of curious on is whether or not they can develop a motor that gives you like 2.5 minute run times, but they give you significantly more torque at the low end, not at the high end, right? Because like every motor will spin really high and give you good speeds at the high end, but you're burning a lot of battery in order to do it. But can they give you that torque, that punch? A lot of people call it punch at the low end, where it's really efficient for the battery because it's not draining a whole lot, so that you can achieve that long run time, but you have that speed in the lower bands as opposed to going up to the higher bands to do it. I don't know about you, Ivan. Have they found that those ratios to be able to achieve that, or is that like something that we're gonna have to wait for other manufacturers to set out like a whole bunch of different motors and we'll eventually find one that works?
Well, I think that's what's going to happen. It's about what happens is somebody makes a 1700 and he's running it, and he beats somebody, say Evan, and somebody says, okay, we need to get Evan, our sponsored pilot, that motor, something comparable to that, and let's do a little bit of testing on it, and they'll do a little bit of testing. But I like I've said before, it's not enough. You know what I mean? Not enough companies are actually, look at prop efficiency tests. Like those are tests. Like APC puts out a prop efficiency. Like if you message them, they will send you something that tells you how efficient your prop propeller is. No one else gives you that.
Nobody else cares. I'm sorry, Alvin, you're not going to get that. All right.
But I'm saying that. That's what I'm saying. There's companies out there that have led and done this before, and we need to stay on those tracks because that's how we're going to come out to what's really efficient. You see what I'm saying? You just can't keep throwing shit in the wind and thinking it's going to come out good because it looks good or because the shape looks, like an advantage or a disadvantage. You know what I mean? You got to follow through with these testing, because you're actually holding the hobby back, really. I mean, if we could turn 3-minute races, that would be something, if we could turn 5-minute races. Oh my God, that would be so cool. 15 laps. You know what I mean? I mean, imagine going to a race and seeing every race was 15 minutes. I mean 15 laps. For 15. Yeah, every race was 15 laps. Imagine seeing 15 laps. Every race.
Spectators would like it. Yeah, spectators would like it.
Right.
Or team racing would be great too. Actually. Well, before we jump onto that subject, so Alex, how many motors have you tested on 6S so far?
Two.
That's not a whole lot.
No, it's not a lot.
No, there really isn't a lot, and that's one thing that we're fortunate with Pyro Flip is, we have an idea. We think that we have a motor that a lot of the team pilots think are going to be what we need and we want to test. Serge will get 20 of them from the factory or whatever, and we'll test them. We're able to do that. So Corey Yates, C-Train is his call sign, is really like the guy who started pushing this 6S heavily. There's a lot of people who have tried it and who have realized this is where we needed to be, but nobody was really that greasy wheel like Corey was. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Right. So Corey went through all this testing, limiting throttle inputs and all that. And this setup was kind of like what Corey came to the realization, like if we want to have an efficiency boost over 4S, that this is, for what we know right now, this is where it's going to be at. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like what I stuck with. And the pros that I'm seeing from this over my 4S rigs are good enough for me to stick with this for the 2018 season.
Definitely.
Nice.
for the 2 minute plus finish your lap multi-GP format.
Right.
Nice.
Now, of course, for like bracket racing where it's first to 3 laps, heads up racing, I'll probably have a faster rig for that, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Well, that's actually kind of interesting because it's definitely a different type of race, right? Because
Exactly.
once you get in, once you get into six or not six, sorry, once you get into fixed laps and it's really first to the finish line, it's a different type of quad that you should be bringing to that race.
True.
Yeah, it's a whole different race in general. Like your whole mindset during that's a lot different than qualifying.
Right.
Qualifying, it's you're racing the clock. 2 minutes, finish your lap. Whoever else is on the track doesn't really matter.
Right.
You're not racing them. You're racing to get your qualifying seed.
Right.
Which really, in a lot of these races, qualifying first place TQ doesn't make a big difference from qualifying 32nd because we're not running AAA mains. We're like,
Right.
you're going into a main based off your seed time.
Right.
Which is what I would like to see, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
So
I think that's coming, Alex. That's coming.
yeah, I think so too. I think so
because
too.
We haven't had a venue big enough to do that much. You know what I mean?
Agreed. That's what I don't like seeing in multi-GP. Like we spend 4 days racing to find the 8 fastest people or 6 or 4 or whatever the final may be. We spend 4 days to figure out the 4 fastest pilots. They hype up this race for months before it, and next thing you know, the main feature's over in 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, I would like to see a AAA main where the top 5 or 6 guys, whatever you want to be, race 3 times in a point system. I would like to see that, but there's also cons to that where going off of a point system, somebody who finished second every race could win it.
Right. And that caused some problems in NASCAR like that. I mean, that caused some problems in NASCAR, and it put a pretty good sour mouth in a lot of viewers, because it was like, what, dude? Like he didn't. What? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, damn.
It's a point system. Gotta go by the rules.
But when it point system, that's how things can end up. You know, I mean, and the easiest way is to say at the end of the year, no matter what the point system, it come down to a goddamn race. That's what it did.
Exactly.
It come out of one last one, right? No matter what the point system is, the last 6 guys, that's the last race.
Agreed. And then you could go to the flip side of it, where if we want this pilot to win, you know, whoever's the fastest on that track at that day, if we wanted him to win, like if every race was like that where the fastest pilot always won it, we would just be running UTTs.
Right.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
There's more forms of racing than the fastest guy wins it.
Right. We've said this. That's one of the things on this show we speak a lot about. You know, we speak about there's different types of racing out there, and we don't have enough of it going on right now.
Agreed.
We have basically like Grand Prix style racing, which is kind of getting into team format and stuff like that from time to time. But really, there's no Formula One, there's no Grand Prix, there's no sprint car, there's no, you know, all those options, you know, there's circle track, there's, you know, so many things that, because a lot of you guys' skills are varied to where you could actually do that. You know, it's like high school and like JV and varsity, you know what I mean?
I think it's going to get pretty tough because I don't think it's kind of weird because like if you start having different categories of drone racing, then all of a sudden you're splitting the community. And right now, I don't think the community is big enough to be splitting the community, right? But it's getting to the scale where like I truly believe at the end of the year, if you only have 3 guys winning and if like a couple of 100 pilots are flying, spending all this money doing it, and you're only hoisting up 3 winners at the end of the year, kind of sucks for the rest of the 100 people who spent a lot of money. You know, I really would like to see more winners come out at the end of the year. But I don't know the magic formula to that yet. But yeah, it's a really good topic of conversation right there, to where like there's definitely needs to be a more we need to have more variety at the end of the day.
Agreed.
But how we get there, probably not going to figure out in 2018. We're probably going to figure out how many motors we're going to destroy in 2018.
Right.
And that's another thing we're seeing come up more and more. Like, of course, we have the individual, like Nationals, MDX, Sebring, and all that. But at Sebring, they actually did a team race, which was my first experience at any other type of racing besides the 2-minute finish your lap and heads up racing, which was by far the funnest thing. Like, my whole Sebring trip was made around the team race. Mm-hmm. Like, I went out there with C-Train and Wes, and we were like, you know, we were friends and stuff, but after we came away from the team race, dude, it was like we knew each other for years. It was awesome. That was
man bonding
the most
right there.
Fun.
Yeah,
exactly. That was the most fun time out there.
Because like you're working, you're communicating, and it's like, and it's not like it's over in like 2 minutes. The problem with it's being over in 2 minutes is that you run this high real quick, and then there's 40 minutes of lows, you know, and it's
exactly.
But like in a team race, it's like, dude, you're going to be at this for an hour and a half. You better be on your game. And like the other buddies, they're trusting you, man. So,
even if you're not racing, it's still intense. Like you're radioing over to your team, like, get Wes ready. Like, it's constant go instead of wait 2 hours, fly for 2 minutes, wait 2 hours, fly for 2 minutes. Which was, and then again, we ran for 100 laps. So in 100 laps, that was enough time where you could make mistakes. You could, like, it was in a 2-minute race. If you make a mistake with people like Evan on the track, like, you're done. There's no way you're catching back up to that. You can't make up 5 seconds on Evan. But in a team race where you have 100 laps to do it, like that really, exactly. You're never out of the race. That's what we liked about it.
Definitely. It's one of the things where we definitely want to see more of that, but it takes a lot more effort, right? Because now you need teams to come in and be willing to participate, and there's not that many teams right now. I mean, there's what? I think down in Sebring, how many teams made it? Was it 7? I don't remember. Eight. You know, like we need like 8 teams at every event be willing to travel. It's like that's a tall order.
That's a
and then with money. Team racing, you know, it's usually a team of 5, 3 pilots, a pit person, and a captain.
And a driver.
Who do you know that's going to pay thousands of dollars to fly somewhere to count to 100 laps? Why? Like that, to me, that's like, well, from a pilot standpoint, like, I wouldn't want to do that, honestly. But,
no, I agree. But I think there are certain people that, you know, if like a sponsor paid their way, they would go to count 100 laps. Yeah, no problem. It's like, raise your hand. Let's go.
See you later.
I can count to 100. Put me in, coach.
I get my mini drac in the bag and I'm out. See you later, homies.
I tell you what, though, hopefully we'll see more big events have team races, because it is a lot of fun to watch, and it's also a lot of fun to participate in, because every team race that I've been a part of, it's always fun. Everybody always came out smiles, even if they were the person that was last.
Exactly.
So much fun.
All right. Are you two done on your 6S talk, or you got more?
I don't have nothing but, like I said, like what I said, he's already doing it. So like,
let me sum it up. Let me sum up my 6S.
Go ahead, homie.
6S is the future. Future is now, and after experiencing 6S, 4S is junk.
Oh, there we go. He's called you out. Time to build the 6S train. All right, hey, let's talk about this final thing, and we'll wrap up. In terms of costs, have you noticed a jump in costs, whether it's batteries, chargers, or just wear and tear on parts? Is it about the same as 4S that you felt?
Yeah, you know, especially with me running this 6S capable stack on 4S, Like I didn't have to buy a new ESC that was 6S rated. The only difference between this rig and my 6S rigs are the motors. That's really, and the batteries, of course.
Mhm.
But the motors are the same price. You know, a different winding KV isn't going to make a
Right.
motor any expensive or cost effective, you know. But the batteries, I mean, right now the market's just about like a 4S. You know, a Pulse 1550 4S pack's like $45 or something.
Right.
You know, but then again, you have like China Hobby Line that's like what, $22-$23 a pack. Like it would be hard to compete with that, especially comparing it to like a higher end 6S graphene pack. But you know, if you're the guy out there that's buying quality batteries, quality motors, and quality equipment, you're not going to see a cost difference going to 6S.
And I would say that if you're out, if you know what you're doing, like starting off with a 6S system might be a little bit much for you in the right off the bat, because things need to be a little. If the tune is wrong, things can go bad drastically.
Well, that's the good thing about with 1722 kV. We're pretty much matching the max RPM to a 2207 2500 motor. So like my PIDs don't even change between my 4S and 6S rigs. My filtering, TPA, all that's the exact same.
That's
so
awesome.
as long as you compensate 6S with a lower KV rating to match the max RPM, all of your 4S stuff will work because we're achieving the same thing with the motor, just in a different way.
Wow.
So, there you go. For anybody who's going to 6S, take Alex's advice. Look at the max RPM of your favorite quad that you can fly really well, and make sure you pick a motor.
Pro tip.
Make sure you pick a motor that will match the RPMs at 6S, and you won't have any problems. Because I guarantee you, I've already seen it in the forums. People are like, "Oh, 2500 kV on 6S." I'm like, "Oh dear, that's not gonna end well."
Exactly. No, exactly. Like, oh yeah, I put a 6S pack on my 4S quad and it just caught on fire. It's like, well, no shit.
People will do that. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you say like, "Oh, plug in."
Yeah, but I mean, just take the precautions. I mean, we're talking about 25 volts here in a 6S pack. That's a big voltage spike. I run 2 fat caps on the front of the arms to compensate for that. Like that's just what it is. That's one thing that we have to pay for to go into higher voltage. Yeah, that's the only thing that's worse on our equipment is the voltage spikes coming back are a little harder.
Oh yeah,
we're pulling less amps, less heat. That's just the only thing is the 25 volts coming back.
It's just a brick.
Definitely. Now, you talked about caps. What caps were you using, and were you using the same caps at 4S, or did you actually boost them?
No, I was running the same caps on 4S. They're 25 volt 1000 UF. Okay, is what they are. Nothing special. I ordered them. I ordered them off Amazon, but they're working.
You know what? I guarantee you they're going to start building 4-in-1 ESCs with caps built into them sooner or later. It's going to happen because everybody runs caps now. It's like, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah, well, on a 4-in-1, there's actually caps all over it. Right. They're just so small a caps that they're not designed for holding back voltage spikes coming like a 25 volt voltage. That's why there's a bunch of them on the board.
Wait, so here, let me share a little electrical history with you. Here we go. Okay, electrolytic caps.
Hit me with it. I need this knowledge.
Electrolytic caps have the best performance out of them. Ceramic caps don't perform as well for filtering as electrolytic caps. That's just something I learned over the years of working in a TV shop. So when it comes to filtering, you go to electrolytic caps for filtering and for storage of energy. If you want just dropping, changing frequencies and all, that's what ceramic caps are great for.
There you go. Make sure you buy the right caps. I have no clue what you just said, so I'll just go look up those terms instead.
That's the little cans.
The little cans.
The ones that look like a little can. Wait, what is it? I thought I had one up here, but I don't.
Hey, go ahead. But anyways,
that's the caps he was talking about. 25 volt, 1000 microfarad caps. That's what 2 of them on this ship. But hey, Have you seen that? There's a 4800 microfarad cap board thing I saw that goes on. I've been wanting to know if anybody had seen that, because if anybody out there has seen it, hey, drop me a line. I want to know about it. I want to know how well that works, because it's 4800 microfarad, and I would think that's a lot of filtration right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And maybe it may be a little, when you plug it in, but it should hold up.
Oh yeah.
If you say so. It might spark on you. Anyways,
Yeah.
if you don't know what caps are, you definitely want to look them up. It's a good idea. Alex says he's not knowledgeable, but he just saved you a bunch of money if you figured out what he just said, because the back voltage, coming back especially when you hit something and then all of a sudden that voltage has to go somewhere. Like those caps, they'll protect your equipment. Otherwise, you'll have a tendency to fry things quicker. They might not break the first time.
Call it flames.
100%.
Yeah.
Caps are like insurance. Like, I'm sure my quad would be fine without them, but it may be happier through voltage spikes with them.
Exactly.
Through the voltage spikes. Yep.
And capacitor, like Elvin said, capacitors store energy as well. So I mean, it's kind of like a double positive for us.
Stabilize.
Definitely.
Keep your spikes down.
Right. Absorb them.
So, pro tips there from Alex. All right, we're going to start wrapping up. Alex, I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and coming on to the show and sharing your story. It was great talking to you. You're always fun to meet, and your family's a lot of fun. So we always enjoy having you guys around, and we'll see how fast you guys are on the next race. How about that?
Yes, sir. I want to thank you guys for having me on for tonight, and my sponsors for making all this possible: Pyroflip RC, HQ Props, Raceflight Pro, and AC Batteries. I wouldn't be able to do all this without them.
Definitely. Right. Hey,
good man.
Good vendors right there. All right, social media accounts. What do you got?
YouTube is _chief_FPV. Same for my Instagram, and Facebook me Alex Campbell. You'll find it.
Facebook you Alex Campbell. There you go. All right. Last question, and then we'll let you go. How'd you get the pilot name the Chief?
Man, honestly, I have no idea. Like, I was flying planes, and all these people are like have these fancy call signs and stuff, and I was just Alex Campbell, And then one of my good friends, like, his parents were like, "We know what we're gonna call you," and I was like, "What is it?" They're like, "Chief," and I loved it. Stuck ever since.
There you go. Hey, got a good family to name you, and then it just stuck. Hey, nice and simple too. Like that.
The Chief.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Right.
You have a good night, man.
Thank you, guys. You all too.